Welcome, and thank you for being here this afternoon. We're excited for this opportunity to talk with you today about your upcoming COOG academic experience. I'm Rebecca Vandevoort, Assistant Vice President of Academic Outreach and Innovation, fondly known as AOI, and also home of WSU's Global Campus. Presenting with me today are Christy Kittle, our lead instructional designer, John Manwaring, Assistant Director of our Learning Innovations team, and Rob Baker, Collaborative Tech Support Coordinator. I'm going to share my screen with you. And move on to my slides. So if you're not familiar with academic outreach and innovation, we're the division of WSU that promotes and supports the use of academic technology and innovative pedagogy in a wide variety of teaching contexts, including our traditional classrooms, the online courses, and our video conferencing courses. So a few housekeeping tips before we get too far along today. Through the presentation, we'll refer to a number of resources available online, and the resources have all been collected and are posted on the BTech Ready Resource Guide, which is linked on the student guide page, the same web page that you use to access today's presentation. We also have a copy of those slides, these slides, available on the site, and the presentation is being recorded and will be posted. So if you're, so in addition to the panelists, we have a number of folks in our chat room who can answer questions about your academic experience. So if you're not quite sure what our areas of expertise are or what kind of questions you might be asking, today's subject matter experts include members of our Learning Innovation team, who are instructional designers, emerging technologists, and other technology experts who work with faculty to help support the use of academic technology in ways that enhances teaching and learning. We've been working hard all summer with faculty through a variety of venues to help them prepare for the possibility of teaching remotely this fall. We also have on hand today members of our Global Campus Student Services team. They have a wealth of experience when it comes to supporting students learning in the online distant environment. You might not know it, but WSU has been delivering educational content to students at a distance via technology since the mid-1980s, long before most any of you were born. Across AOI, whether we're supporting faculty or students, or the tech tools themselves, we do have the experience to help make WSU's distance learning experience successful and get students off on the right foot. And we really want to help you with that today. So if you've got any questions related to academic technology and learning successfully in the distance environment, we should be able to give you the answer. We may not have all of our answers right off the top of our heads, but we will post answers on our frequently asked questions page, again, linked from our student guide page. The university also has set up a hotline to provide a single entry point for questions related to academics, which then can be routed to the right answer, the right unit with the answer, hopefully. So the hotline phone number is being posted in the chat, and it's also the number currently in existence for the Academic Success and Career Center. So let's get started. Here's what we're going to be covering today. I'm going to talk about what instruction might look like, what your classes might look like, how you should be prepared to learn in the distance environment. The panelists will be presenting brief tutorials on each of the primary tools, tech tools, that you'll be asked to use to complete your classes. And throughout the presentation, we'll emphasize tools and tips and techniques to support a successful learning experience. So what might your instruction look like this fall? What we're all used to is the physical classroom. That's very comfortable. You know how to navigate that. And for the most part, across all WSU classes, that's been moved to a virtual online experience. Within the online experience, we talk about synchronous versus asynchronous. So a synchronous course is one that meets in real time, the instructor, the students, everyone together connecting in real time. And an asynchronous course or asynchronous activities happen outside of the constraints of time. So that's generally a situation when you're going into a course space and you may participate in a discussion, and a couple of hours later, one of your classmates goes in and participates in that discussion. That is what we mean by asynchronous. So most of the courses that were scheduled on the Pullman or other physical campuses, Tri-Cities, Everett, Spokane, and Vancouver, will have some synchronous component. They should have in the scheduled classes the meeting time, the meeting pattern. So the day of the week that it meets and the time that it meets. And you can expect that to at least some extent, you'll be meeting synchronously for that class in those times. It's going to vary by class. Some, if they're scheduled to meet 3 times a week, will in fact meet synchronously 3 times a week. Others have moved to more of a 1 time a week meeting and more content available in an online course space. So that helps compensate for what's not happening synchronously. There may be assignments, activities, recorded lectures, things you'll need to pay attention to in your online course space. And we'll be talking more about what that is and where that is and how you use it as we go through this presentation. So both environments, synchronous and asynchronous, are engaging, include activities that require student to engage with other students, with the faculty, and with the content. So neither is self-paced or autonomous or instructorless. Your teacher and the class syllabus are the best source for what exactly is expected for your individual course, the extent to which it will be synchronous versus asynchronous. So that should all be spelled out in your syllabus when you get to the first week of class, and you can access that information. Some faculty are making that available a little bit earlier, but at least by the first day of class, you'll have access to that information. So to participate in the course this fall, you're pretty sure you know you need technology, but what do you need? We've gotten a lot of questions about this. We do have on our website minimum requirements recommended. They describe what you need for your internet connection, your operating system, CPU, system memory, browsers, webcam, microphone. So be sure and visit that page. From that page, you can do a computer check and an internet speed test, both of which would be great to do before classes start, so you make sure you're set up right. A webcam and a microphone are required. You'll need them to engage in your class, complete group work, meet with faculty during office hours, and if there's proctored exams required for your course, you'll need them for that as well. So I would go ahead and acquire those. I also want to make a note about WSU's multi-factor authentication, which has been introduced kind of over the last few months. There are several of WSU's systems, including Blackboard, Canvas, Outlook, email, I believe, Zoom, that do require a multi-factor authentication. So they'll be posting the link for more information on that in the chat box, so you can learn about that and be prepared. So what if you don't have a computer or adequate internet? WSU does have a computer loan program where we have Chromebooks available, and we are in the process of extending our mobile Wi-Fi hotspot program as well. So you should be able to acquire either of those if you need them. In addition, online, we have a Wi-Fi hotspot map for the state of Washington, so you can find places that you might be able to find to access Wi-Fi a little more easily. As you're getting all set up and preparing for class, if you have any technical support issues, please contact our WSU Crimson Service Desk, and they'll help you get going and move forward. So now you're all set up. You've got your computer. You've hopefully got a space to work. What tools do you need to be familiar with? We use a learning management system, which is really takes the place of the physical classroom. This is your online classroom. This is a place that serves as a hub for communication. This would be where you'll submit assignments, take exams, participate in asynchronous discussions if that's part of your class, find your syllabus, find lesson content, maybe other resources you need to read or view. So most students will have courses in Blackboard. That's the primary learning management system WSU is using, but we're also piloting Canvas. And so you might have classes in Canvas as well. Today, we'll really be talking about Blackboard, but Christy will provide some links to the Canvas student guide, and we do have that linked on in our Tech Ready student resource guide so that you can familiarize yourself with that. You'll hear from your faculty member and our central IT department if you have a class in Canvas. So you'll know that that's where you need to go. Zoom is our WSU's primary collaboration tool. We're using that actually to feed into YouTube. But if you're meeting synchronously with your class, it will be most likely via Zoom. And a third tool we'll talk about today, which probably will impact students a little bit less, but still good to be familiar with it, and that's called Panopto. Panopto is a lecture capture or presentation tool, so many faculty have used it to create pre-recorded lectures that they'll populate into a Blackboard course space so that you can view them. But they may also ask you to do assignments that require you to record a presentation, and Panopto is a tool that you would have access to. All of these tools are free to use for WSU students, and we'll talk about where you find them and how you use them. So a couple of other things that might come up. Many faculty have sort of discipline-specific publisher or third-party vendor tools that they're using, and they'll provide the information you need to learn how to access and where to get support for those. We also, in our work with faculty, have talked quite a bit about Perusall and VoiceThread, which provides some collaborative opportunities in the online course space. We don't want our courses to be kind of cold and isolating. We do want you to be really engaging with each other and with the content. And so those tools can help with that. And on our student guide website, we do have trainings for those, as well as for a number of just general tech tutorials if you need some brushing up on Word or Excel or Outlook or any of those things. And lastly, some faculty may use Teams as a place for students to communicate and connect together. WSU does have a license for Microsoft Teams. Again, the faculty member will let you know where you need to go to access that and how to use that tool for that specific class. So John, I've given kind of a brief overview here, and before I turn the stage over to Christy to talk about Blackboard and Panopto, are there any questions?
Yeah, thanks. There's some questions that have come in prior that I think that would be good to address. The first one is, how is this going to be different from the way spring was conducted for us this fall?
So I think honestly, the online experience this fall will be much richer, much more robust. Faculty have had the summer to really prepare, to learn the tools, to think about how they want to deliver their content and the best approach. In the spring, we had the advantage of the classes had met together for the first 7 weeks. So students did have a chance to connect and get to know each other. But then we moved online so quickly, putting many faculty in a situation with using technology that they weren't familiar with and having to, on the fly, come up with ways to replicate some of the hands-on kinds of activities, some lab activities. You'll find with online labs this fall, faculty have really been able to work on finding simulations and interactive activities, creating supply lists and lab activities students may be doing in their home. So I think we'll find the online experience to be very rich and robust this fall.
Great, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about class time? If your instructor says they want to conduct regular class meeting times, when do they meet?
Classes will meet, if classes meet synchronously, they will meet at the meeting time that's in the schedule of classes, unless the instructor connects with all of the students and comes to an agreement, we're kind of calling it a contract, to meet outside of those times. So there are some situations where there might be a larger number of students in other time zones, making it a little more challenging for, say, a 4 p.m. class. But that would be a conversation faculty would have with all the students. Faculty won't just make a decision to change the time.
Great, thanks. So, and lastly, you talked a little bit about proctored exams. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like for students and if they can expect to have any additional costs because of a proctored exam?
Sure, there will be no cost to students for proctored exams. There are some situations when, so what a proctored exam is very much like sitting in the classroom, having the faculty, the TA wandering around, watching you take your exam. But we do that in the online environment. So we work with a third-party vendor beginning this fall. That will be ProctorU. A student goes to their Blackboard course space, selects the link that gives them access to ProctorU. They'll need to show their student ID or a government ID like a driver's license with their face. And then they'll be given access to the exam, and the whole exam session is then recorded for faculty to review if they need to.
Great, thank you. Christy, do you want to talk to us a little bit about Blackboard and the learning management system?
Absolutely. Thank you, John. And thanks, Rebecca, for setting that up so well. You should now hopefully see my screen. So Blackboard is WSU's learning management system for you to access your class materials. And Rebecca had mentioned this is essentially your classroom. So it's going to be your hub of communication, and every class has its own course space. So you're not going to log into Blackboard and have to have one course space with multiple courses in it. So each individual course will have a unique space to post information. So instructors can post things like course materials, the syllabus. You can actually turn in assignments, PowerPoints, Word documents, etc. You can take quizzes, you can view your grades, you can interact with peers through discussion forums, and then there's also calendars and due dates. I do want to keep in mind, want you to keep in mind that faculty are going to set these up to help meet the needs of their own course. And so each faculty may be approaching this differently. So some faculty may have a more robust option in Blackboard and some may not. As Rebecca mentioned earlier, that Canvas is being piloted by a select few, but you will be contacted directly if your course is in Canvas. So I do want to talk about accessing your course space. The chat moderators are going to post a link so you can actually self-enroll. It's on the same page that you access the YouTube live session. We do have a sample course space called Be Tech Ready Fall 2020 to help you navigate and play around with some of these things I'm about to talk about. So if you're interested, that would be a great option for you. Once you get enrolled in that course space, you can access all of your courses by going to learn.wsu.edu. Because it's only the beginning of August, I would not be surprised if you do not see any of your fall 2020 courses listed. Many faculty have not pushed their Blackboard course space live just yet. So once you log in to learn.wsu.edu, you will be using the WSU authentication, and you'll be logging in with your normal WSU username and password. You'll see your name on the top right. And there's going to be a section titled My Courses, courses in which you are enrolled as a student. Again, if you don't see any right now, it may be because your instructors have not pushed them live. There's also a drop down for the term. Make sure that says Fall 2020. So this is how you can access your list of courses. You should have a list of multiple courses if you're enrolled in multiple Blackboard course spaces. And one of the common questions we get is, how do I know which one of my courses is in Blackboard versus Canvas? I would always start with learn.wsu.edu. Courses usually go live the week before classes or the first day of class. When in doubt, your instructor will be a good point of contact. They will contact you directly with more access information. Once you get into the course space, there is going to be a different type of navigation depending on what kind of course you have. These instructors have the flexibility, again, to meet the unique needs of your individual courses. So here are just two examples of a navigation menu on the left-hand side. Yours may not look anything like this, but these are some options. One option tool within Blackboard is announcements. This can push a notification to you immediately and be listed in the announcements. It may also come to you in the form of an email. There's a dashboard that we'll show later that has a lot of information on it that's pre-populated by Blackboard. And everything else here is freedom of your instructor. So here there's a home page, there's a place to locate your syllabus. Here you can click course content, and there's a collection of content in there. It could be materials to read, videos to watch. It could be information about your live courses sessions. It could include Panopto videos. You can see here, your teachers may actually have direct links to both Panopto and Zoom. So if you hear about those later in this session, know that Blackboard might have a direct link to those information, those tools. I highly suggest you first getting into your syllabus and trying to figure out what exactly your expectations are and contact your instructor with any questions. This right here is going to be the great first step. I do want to note that within this Blackboard course space, everything is copyright protected. So you will not be able to copy and take anything from these course spaces and use it anywhere else. So now let's take a look at some of the sample activities that you could be doing. You could have a discussion forum. You can turn in assignments. You can take quizzes. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at a possible discussion. If you self-enrolled into the Fall Tech Ready site, there's actually a discussion that you can engage others in. The description is here. Your instructor will tell you the expectations and how what they're asking you to post. You give it a subject, and then you give it your content here. So you can type out your response, and you can see the options here, such as paragraphing, bolds, italics, or adding an attachment. Discussions are asynchronous, which means they don't happen live. So it's not like a live chat or text. It's more like posting on Facebook or Instagram and waiting for people to reply. And it's obviously focused around a very specific topic that your instructor has set forth. Blackboard also offers an assignment turn-in. If a majority of the courses, if not all of your courses, are going to be fully virtual, which means you're going to have to be turning things in online. This will give you the information if your instructor has plugged in the due date. You can see when it's due. Some instructors may not have this built in, so they might actually have it in the instructions and the information for that assignment. They may also just have it in their syllabus or the course schedule. You can see how many points it is. And here you can go ahead and select Browse My Computer, find a PowerPoint, Word document, Excel, whatever the project or assignment happens to be. You can locate it and submit. Blackboard works with both PC and with Mac, and I believe Chrome is the best browser to use for that. I do have a lot of questions about whether it's mobile friendly. Blackboard does allow you to access via mobile. I would suggest turning assignments in with a computer. Next, this is the grade center. So you can see my grades, anything that your instructor has added, quizzes, assignments, discussions. And some of these may just be something like attendance or participation in a live Zoom session. You'll be able to see grades as they come in. And you can see this one is actually in progress because I was in the middle of taking this quiz. Your grade will be posted here. Again, I really want to reiterate that instructors use Blackboard in many different ways. So read the syllabus and talk to them about those grading expectations. They may have a separate grade somewhere else that might be most up to date. So make sure that you know how accurate these grades are in Blackboard. That last page I wanted to show you is the dashboard that we mentioned earlier. This is just pre-populated from Blackboard, and it pulls in the announcements, some dates, and if you have the due dates assigned to the assignments and the discussions, they will also populate here. Okay, so that's a very high level overview of Blackboard. For a select few, Canvas is going to be used. you can access by going to canvas.wsu.edu. If you actually go here and you're not in the pilot, you might be surprised to see that you don't have a login. That's totally okay. If you don't have a course in Canvas, it won't let you log in. Even if you are in the pilot, if your instructor hasn't published the course and made it available, you may not be able to log in. As Rebecca mentioned earlier, you will be contacted directly by the central IT and or your instructor to let you know that the course is in Canvas instead of Blackboard. Because it is only August 6th, there is a good chance that you may not have any courses that you can see in either Canvas or Blackboard that have been published yet, because it is a little early. So I would wait until at least the week before classes that you probably would expect to see anything, and in some cases on that first day. So Canvas, we're not going to go as much into a deeper dive. It has a similar navigation on the left. You can select syllabus. There's also announcements. Modules is the place to go. Once you select modules, this will be hopefully kind of like a linear way for you to interact with your course. If you select assignments, this will be a selection of all of the things that would have to be graded in forms of categories. So categories by unit, quizzes, etc. You can see grades. And if there's groups and or people, you can also interact with them here if your instructor has that. The last thing I'll say before I ask John for some questions is talk to your instructors, read your syllabus. There is a chance that your instructor is doing something unique, and make sure that you look and see what's needed for your course. So John, any questions?
Yeah, Christy, you've been working with faculty for quite a while now through the summer. What do lab classes look like? Can you have a lab class in Blackboard or Canvas?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always going to be an it depends answer. So the lab classroom, there are portions of it that are very hands-on. They have, depending on the type of lab, some instructors may have opted to do lab kits where they actually get things mailed to their house and be able to do some hands-on things. Blackboard and Canvas, again, those are just the hub of communication to be able for the instructor to tell you when to meet, what to complete, expectations, how to get in touch with everybody. And there are certain things that can't be replicated by just watching online. So I would encourage you to talk to your instructor for that. So in short, the answer is yes for most cases. And there might be some exceptions, but again, the syllabus and your instructor is going to be the best bet to get those details.
Great, thanks. Got another question for you that's coming from the chat. If I'm a student and I'm working on other things or have a job and I can't attend a live Zoom session, are there recordings available, or what are my options, do you think there? What should the student do?
Christy, I think I'll take that one.
Okay.
In whether or not faculty are recording their sessions and making them available for students later is faculty choice. We have really worked with faculty, and we're working on our absence policy to make sure faculty understand that if students get COVID, if they have to be quarantined, if they miss some period of class, that they should work with them to help the students make up for that. But if you're in a situation where you have something other conflicting, such as a job, if it's occasional, you can talk with your faculty member and they may be willing to make accommodations for that. But if it looks like, based on your work schedule and the schedule of classes, that you're going to have a regular conflict, you might want to look to take a different class. Faculty aren't necessarily going to be, won't be required to accommodate every single situation like that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rebecca. Sounds like the takeaway from this section is to go and practice in the Blackboard course space and to consult your syllabus and to make sure you're making contact with your instructor, because things do come up and you want to make sure that you are well acquainted with what the policies are and what can and can't be done, and explaining your situation. Great, thank you. Rob, can you talk to us a little bit about the Zoom tool?
Yes, I'd be glad to. Thank you, John. Let me go ahead and put my slides up for everybody to see. So you likely already have a free personal Zoom account that you've used at home, because we're all kind of using Zoom or other tools such as this for distance education coming out of high school or others. But to really be tech ready at Wazoom, you're going to want to activate your pro Zoom account at wsu.zoom.us. That's right, you're getting a pro account. No more meeting length restrictions or 100 participant limit. You can invite your 300 favorite classmates to an all-day Zoomathon. To mention though, you will not have cloud recording options like your instructors will. So we'll talk a little bit later about Panopto for any of your recording needs. So getting started with Zoom, you want to download the desktop client or the mobile application, and you'll be prompted to sign in with SSO. That stands for single sign-on. On that next page, when it says company domain, go ahead and enter WSU and then continue, which will take you through authentication process. We have recently integrated MFA, multi-factor authentication, for many services that WSU supports. So depending on how you signed up for that, you might get a voice call or text message, or need to insert a USB key to confirm you yourself. You'd be looking at a 24-hour period for having to re-authenticate. That's something everybody, faculty, staff, and students are now doing at WSU. So once that Zoom account is activated, make sure you sign out of your old Gmail account that you were using for Zoom and swap over to your WSU credentials using the process on that screen. This works on both desktop and mobile. And if you're heavily invested in your old free Zoom account because you have a lot of friends there you want to keep in touch in that contact list, you can definitely swap back and forth between them. Just make sure you're using your WSU one for WSU classes. Using your WSU account is going to allow your instructor to recognize who you are when you sign into class. That will help with things such as being pre-assigned to breakout rooms and attendance reports. If you log into a class of 100 people as awesomecat300@gmail.com, don't be surprised if you don't get credit for attending class that day. And we covered computer recommendations a bit earlier, but I wanted to talk a little bit more specific to Zoom now. Even though you can use an iPad or other tablet to join your class, you're really limiting yourself from the full experience. Try to get yourself set up with a full PC or Mac so you can see the presentation and your instructor and fellow classmates as large as possible. Many of you have Chromebooks, and while they're allow you to participate in the majority of Zoom features, you will be unable to do some advanced features like share a whiteboard or annotate on shared content, or even launch a poll, though you can engage and answer a poll. So if you're asked to do any of those by your instructor, just let them know that you have those limitations of a Chromebook, and they will definitely work with you on that. So, all right, you've got your account, you've got your hardware. Now it's time to start Zooming. Go ahead and invite a friend or family member to join you in a session so you can start familiarizing yourself with the interface. Once you get the basics down, start digging a little deeper into options like advanced screen sharing and annotation. And yes, even virtual backgrounds. I'll talk like I'm using right here. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. You can use your Zoom account whenever you like to chat with classmates or even family back home. But what you're really going to want to be comfortable with is how to join your class session from Learn. Most instructors will host a link in that Blackboard Learn course space, and you can find it either with a dedicated link in the top left or by going into the tools section. That's A and B shown there. And that will take you to the Zoom dashboard where you will see that join button on the right, where you can click that to hop into class. Okay, this is it, the moment of truth. Time to join your class. Now, this is not the time to sleepily grab your laptop from under your bed, crack open the screen, and think you're ready to make the most of your new Coug experience. This is the big league, so give yourself the opportunity to make the most out of it. Every instructor will run their class a little differently. Some may only allow chat questions, others will want full mic control, and you'll definitely have some that will even say that you have to have your camera on for the duration of class. So make sure you fix up and look sharp, at least from the top up. They won't know if you're in slacks or shorts, so you can at least be a little bit comfortable. And as for those virtual backgrounds I mentioned earlier, like I have here, if you're going to use them, keep them subtle and appropriate. You want to be remembered as the person with sharp insight into class material, not the one with the Tiger King video loop playing for 50 minutes of class. To build on those recommendations, here's a few more pointers. This is your time, your new Coug experience, and you're going to make the most of it. Take notes, don't multitask, make friends, get to know your instructors. A great tip I like is seeing those display names under everyone to use as a virtual hello, my name is kind of sticker. These Zoom relationships will carry over to the real world when you need help with a presentation or a lead on an internship from an instructor. So keep your focus on your goals. Thank you for your time with us, and I'll now stop sharing my screen and see if John has any Zoom specific questions I can answer.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Hey, so what about the recordings for Zoom? Where do those end up, and how would I access them if I missed a class and have spoken to my instructor about it?
So John, not every instructor will make recordings available for class, but we are recommending that they do. Also, some might use Panopto for some instances of recordings. But as we mentioned, specific to Zoom recordings, you would find that as well in that Learn course space that I showed earlier. I only displayed the one tab that indicated where to join a new class, but a few tabs over, there's one that says Cloud Recordings. And there you would be able to access the previous class recordings. Those are great because they will not only display the active speaker and the content shared, the shared screen, it will show the chat and even a new feature, which is automatic voice, not annotation, sorry, the word escapes me. Captioning, I guess you could say, automatic captioning, which is not really as far to be good enough for accessibility concern, but is a great way to do a keyword search.
Okay, great. So last spring we heard a little bit about Zoom bombing, and maybe some of those even on this call were present for that. Has anything been done to help curtail security issues like the Zoom bombing presented?
Yes, so unfortunately that Zoom bombing did happen as we were thrusted into online only virtual learning back in March. We had been using Zoom for over a year at WSU before then with no cases of that ever popping up. So we were really happy just kind of taking it easy as far as security concerns went. Once that started happening, we immediately enacted some new restrictions across our entire WSU instance, as well as instruction to faculty on how to better protect their class. So as of now, WSU limits people that join any WSU hosted Zoom meeting to only being able to use, they have to sign in with a Zoom account. So people can't just randomly pop in to meetings without us knowing who they are. We are also we're highly recommending and put on by default passcodes for meetings. That's something that we were really not doing almost anywhere at WSU beforehand, as many people across the world were not, because these were more or less protected. Those passcodes add another layer of security that makes it exceptionally hard for a bot to guess meeting ID and then pop in. They also have that passcode to get to. One of the things finally I'll mention is we're recommending that people use waiting rooms, and that would allow the instructor or people in meetings to see who is in there and decide if they can or can't get in. And there's also some extra steps on that to allow whitelisting of people with WSU accounts to get in as well. So lots of great things there. Zoom has also rolled out the ability to report a user if they're being problematic. And you can also lock a meeting. So if you know you've got everyone in that you're going to need, you can just lock it and know that nobody is going to pop in. All of that has really helped stop those Zoom bombing instances from happening throughout the summer classes and at the end of spring semester. And personally, I don't think I have heard of any of those happening in quite a while.
Great, thanks. So one last question. You talked a little bit about Zoom being available via a variety of platforms. I know on the PC you can still use Zoom via a website portal. What's the difference between downloading the app and the website portal?
So if we're talking about how you could use it, and want to make sure I answer that right, so you can correct me if I get that wrong, that when you access a link to join Zoom, whether it's in the join button via Learn or an email invite, or somebody sends you a chat message, it's going to open it up in a web browser, and then that would be associated with the Zoom desktop application to launch on your PC or Mac. A similar process if you're using a mobile app with the Zoom mobile app. There is the option for some people that cannot install an application, which as I said, I recommend that you do use, to run it in a browser. That will limit some of your full functionality, but maybe a use case is that your computer that you usually use the Zoom desktop app on, the battery dies. You don't have a charger, but you have class coming up, so you have to borrow your parents' work PC to join into that class. Now, they have some security restrictions in place that prevent you installing an application. As that came up, you would still be able to follow that link and at least get in for audio, video, chat, screen sharing in your Zoom class, running it out of a web browser. So hopefully you're using the desktop app as a secondary option, maybe the mobile app, just because it kind of shrinks the experience, but you still have that web browser as an option as kind of a last gasp thing, as well as joining by phone just for audio.
Perfect. Thanks, Rob. Christy, can you talk to us a little bit about the Panopto tool?
Absolutely. All right, so Panopto is going to allow you to view content that your instructor has created. So video, screen share, maybe PowerPoint. It is not live interaction as Rob's Zoom tool, as he just discussed, but for you to watch after your instructor has recorded it. So in some instances, instructors will have you use Panopto to do a recording, which we'll talk about, but a majority of you, if you are using Panopto, it's just to view a video. So why do instructors use Panopto? They can record lectures. So instead of having a live Zoom session, they can record lectures and information on their own for you to view before you attend class. There are also quizzing features built in, so you have the opportunity to answer questions. And then they can also address common questions and misconceptions. The other thing is, if they want you to use Panopto, you can actually give a presentation. So viewing and creating, we have a lot of questions about whether you need to download anything. Great news for people that are just viewing, which is a majority of the folks that need to view recordings in their Blackboard course space, and it would not need to be downloaded. So you just need to essentially click the link or watch the embedded Panopto player or video. It would look very similar to essentially an embedded YouTube video. If you have to create and record on your own for an instructor, for an assignment or a project, then you will have to download the Panopto recorder. So let's talk about first viewing the videos. Now, there are several different options. If you were able to log in and self-enroll to the Be Tech Ready Fall 2020 Blackboard space, you can actually navigate in here and look at some examples in Blackboard of what Panopto can look like. It could have our Panopto symbol with a link. It could just be hyperlinked text. It could be a embedded video as well. For the most part, it's a pretty low learning curve and acts just like you would watch a YouTube video. You have the opportunity to open into the Panopto player. You have the opportunity to maximize it and make it a little bigger. If your instructor has added the closed caption option, you can select that here, and you can even adjust the speed if you need to slow it down. This is a great thing about Panopto and the recording. You can watch this at your own pace. You can rewind when you have a question. Some instructors have turned on the table of contents option, and they will be able to navigate to certain parts in the video and go directly there. If they did a PowerPoint and did that directly through Panopto, there might actually be an item for every slide that they do. You can search the recording. There's the table of contents, the captions, and the great thing you can do is you can also take notes as you go through the video as well. A lot of you may view this just within the Blackboard course space as well, and you would just see the basic player. Now, if you happen to be asked to create a Panopto recording, we have on our Learning Innovation site a lot of tutorials for you to navigate to. They're under Academic Tech Tools, what we call Cougar Capture, and Tutorials. Our chat moderators can put the link in the chat. Now, this right here for the tutorials, instructors will probably offer this as well in their course space to help guide you through this. So once again, Panopto is meant for recordings that you can watch on your own time. It may have embedded YouTubes or quizzes. If you are just watching Panopto, you do not need to download anything. But if you do have to record Panopto for an assignment or a presentation, then you do have to download the Panopto recorder. And that is Panopto in a nutshell quite quickly. John, did we have any questions?
I got a couple questions for you. The first one is, as you've worked with faculty, sorry, my video, have you noticed that they use any of these tools for face-to-face classes as well?
Yes. So in the spring, Panopto was used very heavily once everyone made that shift to distance delivery. And we encourage folks to use things like Panopto for preparation for class. So having students watch Panopto recorded videos so that instead of attending a lecture during the live Zoom session, then they can actually apply the learning concepts and interact with the other students in their classroom. So we have seen a very big increase even before all of the campus distance delivery, that there was a big increase in using things like Panopto to prepare their students for class and to present to others as well.
Great, thanks. I know, I don't know if we have any Murrow communication Cougs with us today, but I know that they use that Panopto tool for several of their assignments. So it's an important
Yes,
piece of technology to use, whether you're in the pandemic or not.
absolutely. And if you happen to use it for presentation, a lot of the experiences that you get having to present and get those skills, those oral communication skills, Panopto is going to be a great tool if that's used to help you practice that.
Exactly. Yeah, thanks. I'm going to turn it back over to Rebecca. Can you talk to us a little bit more about planning for success this fall?
I would be happy to, John. So now you have your basic computer requirements and you've purchased all your equipment and you've played around and explored some of the technology, and we'll give you some resources for that in a little bit. But there's more than just being prepared, although that's a big step for being successful this semester. I do want to make sure you're aware there are a number of guides that various experts across WSU have put together. And so those again are linked from our BTech Ready Fall 2020 resource guide. The academic career and success folks at ASCC have put together the Cougar Guide to Academic Success. Our global campus skills for success, we've had that information up on our website for a long time, supporting students who are learning at a distance. And then most recently, we've added the student guide to preparing to complete courses remotely. So do take a look at those between now and August 24th when you start class. So it's important to get yourself organized. Create a workspace if at all possible so that you've got a good place where your stuff is all set up. You're not having to take it up and take it down and go find the notebook that you needed for your bio course, or that it's all there and you're organized. And then create a daily plan. Schedule time for every single one of your courses multiple times a week. Chart all of your due dates across the same calendar so you can see when you're really going to have some intense weeks. And avoid procrastinating. Be sure to keep up with the work. Sometimes that's easier to do if you're in a synchronous class that's meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you know you have to be prepared. And we've seen that students have a little bit of a tendency to maybe put off their asynchronous sections or courses or activities. So be sure that you're getting the balance and working on all of your courses on a regular basis. If you have time, again, between now and August 24th, watch our pro tips for time management video, particularly if time management tends to be something you're challenged with. So speaking of time, how do you know how much time to allocate, particularly if your course is asynchronous? So at WSU and across actually the nation, it's the standard. One semester lecture credit course is a minimum of 45 hours of student time invested. So if you were taking just a 1 credit course, you would meet on campus in your classroom 1 hour a week. So that's 15 hours. Plus you would have another 2 hours of week of work outside of class. So that's 30 hours. So most of you will be taking 3 credit classes, which translates to 3 hours of instructor-led time, either in the classroom or reviewing videos or reading content from your online course space, plus 6 hours of outside class time to study. So really you need to allow 9 hours of class time for each 3 credit class. If you're taking 12 to 15 credits, you're going to be studying 36 to 45 hours a week. So really, being a full-time student is a full-time job, and that's how you need to look at it. Once you're organized, I have just a few more items I'd like to suggest for your plan for success. Log into your course space often and early, particularly for asynchronous courses. Notice anything that has changed, review the syllabus, review the course calendar, make sure that you understand the expectations, look at the rubrics if they're set up for your assignment so that you know what's expected, what you need to do to get the grade that you are striving towards and learn the content. And Rob talked about this a little bit, engage in your courses. So if it's a synchronous course and you're meeting via Zoom, don't have your Facebook or your Instagram up at the same time. Be focused on your course. Turn on your camera, unless your faculty has asked that you not, but turn on your camera because that does make you more engaged and you know people are seeing you and your responses. You need to stay more involved. Ask questions in the chat, be active in the breakout rooms, be part of the conversation, be engaged. And in the asynchronous course space, be active in the discussion spaces, ask questions of people. And that takes me to the A, ask questions. Nobody knows what you do and don't understand unless you ask the questions and let them know. So don't be shy or hesitant. It's likely if you have a question that someone else in the class has the same question. So ask questions in class or utilize faculty office hours. And faculty office hours are those time that faculty set aside to interact with the students who are in their classes. That's what those times are for. So take advantage of them. Clarify what you don't understand, post questions in online discussion boards, and answer other people's questions if you know the answer. Reach out and connect and take care of yourself. So again, this kind of relates to office hours, but get to know your faculty, reach out and connect with them, reach out and connect with other students, just like you would do if you were maybe sitting next to them in a classroom. Invite people to be your study partner, invite folks to come together for a Zoom study session, and take care of yourself. We do know that this is a really stressful time. There's a lot on people's minds besides just the regular stress of being a college student, finances, family dynamics, all sorts of things, fear of being sick. I know for myself, I just feel like every decision I make is, what's the risk? How risky is this? And that's a tough place to be. So WSU does have a number of resources, our care network, our WSU Healthcare, your advisor, financial aid. Reach out and ask for help if you need help. And we do have some of those resources listed here on the next slide and in our resource guide. And Christy and I think Rob probably both talked about this. Notice and know what's expected. It is really critical that you read the syllabus, that you know what you're supposed to accomplish during the semester, that you know when you need to accomplish it, that you know the standards that the faculty member is holding you to. And if it's not clear or you don't understand, again, ask questions. So these are some things that will really help you to be a successful learner this fall. So here's those resources I was talking about, the Access Center, the Student Care Network, and Cougar Health Services. And these, again, are all listed in our tech resource guide. So I know this has been a lot of information, a lot of talking at you. We have this one slide that if you do these things, this is going to make you so much more ready to start your fall semester. So to be tech ready, I talked about the Tech Ready resource guide. Be sure to review that. Visit the technical requirements webpage, review the minimum requirements, and test your computer and internet speed. As Rob talked about, set up your Zoom Pro account and then practice. Invite family, invite friends that you haven't seen for a while, conduct a Zoom meeting. Explore the course base, Be Tech Ready, Fall 2020. You can self-enroll in that on our student guide page, and then practice some of the things that Christy has set up in there. There's a quiz you can take, you can post to the discussion board, you can submit an assignment, and you can watch the Panopto recording and learn the WSU fight song, because you're not going to be a Coug if you can't sing the fight song. So John, are there more questions? Are there questions that were submitted earlier?
We've got some other questions that we can ask. Pretty quiet in the chat there. I guess everybody's just focusing on our material here. So I'll just ask if you feel comfortable in the chat to shout out what kind of Coug you are. You're Muro Coug, Engineering Coug, Vet Med Coug. What kind of Coug are you? But Rebecca, let me ask you this. We talked about some of the struggles with the circumstances this fall. Can you talk a little bit more about tutoring and what might be available, and if you know how that might work?
Sure. WSU has a number of tutoring entities, from the folks at, again, the Academic Success Center, ASCC, to our Math Tutoring Center. The Carson College of Business has a tutoring center. All of those, the writing programs, all of those are available virtually online. So again, on our Tech Ready resource guide, we have a list of those tutoring centers, as is also on the ASCC side, so that you can find out more about that, connect yourself with a tutor. We also have, WSU is a part of a consortium called eTutoring, where we use tutors really from around the country. You can go to the eTutoring site and see what the subjects are and connect yourself with a tutor, and that's extended hours. And I think the local WSU tutoring centers are also moving to more extended hours, so evenings and weekends. So tutoring is robust and available.
Great, thank you. I know there's students that are near some of our campuses or on some of our campuses. I will say for the Pullman campus this fall, resources will be very limited as we've embraced an online instruction strategy for the fall. But for those Cougs who called the WSU Pullman campus home and their permanent home, there are some resources open. The Cub is open with very limited resources. UREC and Chinook are partially open for different resources and activities. Smith Q building and the Spark building will be open if you need access to Wi-Fi. And if your class is one of those very, very few classes that has been granted an exemption for face-to-face, those classes will be conducted in those two buildings. I'm just looking here. I don't see any other questions. Do we have any last comments that you'd like to make, Rebecca?
John, we had a couple of questions I know were submitted in advance that I wanted to make sure we asked. One was about Week of Welcome activities, and WSU is holding Week of Welcome August 15th through the 23rd, just like usual. All 9 days there will be events. They will all be accessible virtually, and they're updating their webpage. I heard this morning they're kind of updating it shortly as they get those events planned out. So I know the chat moderators have the link to the Week of Welcome page. Keep an eye on that and do participate. The more of the usual kinds of things that you engage yourself in, the more you're going to feel like a Coug this semester. And then we had one other question about whether or not someone might need an iPad or something for taking digital notes for any program specific things. And certainly taking notes is important. How you do it, the tool you use for it is really a personal preference. You could be watching your Zoom and typing in Word. You could be, I like to handwrite notes, and I will say there is some research that says if you handwrite notes, you remember them better. But if an iPad is what you would like to use and you think that's going to help you out, then whatever tool will be most successful for you is what you should use. So I think those were the last two I had.
Great. Well, thank you. We're about at the end here. So again, the resources in this presentation will be made available on the LI website. There's a number of other resources that have been shared in the chat here. And I'm just going to end there by saying, go Cougs.
Go Cougs.